Hello there, good morning, and welcome to the Claret and Booze Daily Ramble. My name's John, just in case you forgot me whilst I've been away. It's a very special ramble today, mainly because it is my birthday. That's right, it's my birthday today, April the 20th, 1979. You're not going to believe it, I'm 44 years of age today. I can't believe it myself. Look how good I look. Anyway, so before I start, if you like today's show, then please hit that like button. If you don't, just hit the like button because it's my birthday and I'm doing a bloody ramble because Nick's told me I should do so. Otherwise, I'll be for the bullet. And if you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so. Claret and Booze, obviously. So today, where do we go? Well, I've been keeping my eye on all things West Ham whilst I've been away. I've watched all the games in the sun, with a few sangrias, shall we say, as well. So I've been keeping my finger on the pulse. And obviously, we are all a little bit more buoyed after Sunday's result against Arsenal. Not just the result, not just getting a point after being 2-0 down, but the way we took the game to Arsenal filled fans with a lot more happiness, a lot more expectation, and a lot more positivity. Now, of course, the debate over David Moyes will go long and, long into the night and we'll ramble on and we'll go on. In my opinion, Moyes will be gone in the summer. Now, whether or not you see his time at West Ham as a success or not, I don't really care. I do in the main, but he does have to go in the summer. And apparently West Ham have drawn up a 6-man shortlist to possibly replace Moyes in the summer. The shortlist consists of Brendan Rodgers, Graham Potter, Fonseca from Lille, Will Steele of Reims, as we know, Nuno Espirito Santo, and also Mauricio Pochettino. Now, apparently 4 of those managers have reservations about managing or taking a West Ham job, which I find odd. Apparently Rodgers, Potter, Pochettino and Espirito Santo have reservations about taking the West Ham job. What they are, we don't know. And they may all be slightly different from one to the other. But, I'm not really sure why they would have reservations about taking over from a club that potentially will still be in the Premier League, which I believe will be the case. But also, if we win this tin pot, third-rate European trophy that I've heard lots of people refer to it as, which I find absolutely ridiculous. If we win that trophy, we will be in the Europa League next season. So I can only see us as an attractive proposition. However, maybe the reservations are the fact that the Russian dwarf will still be predominantly in charge at the club. Maybe the reservations are working underneath or for him, because football is a very incestuous world. All the managers will talk, they'll all have their opinions, and possibly working with Sullivan is not an opinion, is not something that is raved about by some of his ex-employees, ex-managers. Maybe that's the problem there. But of those managers, who would you take? For me, I'd obviously take Pochettino. I wouldn't want Espirito Santo. Will Steele, he's the very romantic option. West Ham fans, bilingual in all sorts of languages. Doesn't have his badges yet. I know he's working towards them. Still very, very young. But the type of progressive manager and the left field option that a lot of fans are going for. I myself, I think that board, Sullivan, I think they'd be more than likely to go for somebody like Brendan Rodgers, who is he's an old stalwart amongst managers these days. He's not old, but I mean, he's been around a long time. He's been in management a long time, and he does seemingly always have good starts to any club he goes to. When he went in at Leicester, he got them the FA Cup. He got them 2 high finishes in the Premier League. But his shelf life, like most managers these days, really tends to be 2 or 3 seasons. So, of those managers, I'm not really sure who we will get, but reservations, apart from working for Sullivan, I can't really see why you'd have reservations, especially if the season pans out as we think it will do. We will definitely stay in the Premier League. I'll put my house on that. Maybe I shouldn't say that. But I think we'll stay in the Premier League. And will we win the Europa Conference League to get us into the Europa League? I think so. But starting with tonight's second leg against Gent, we can't take it lightly. We're getting into the business end of it now. And if we win tonight and get through, we'll play the winners of Alkmaar and what is it, final, isn't it? So, we need to take the game to Gent tonight. They're no mugs. We saw in the first leg that they have enough for us to worry about, especially if we regress to the tepid style of play that we've seen most of the season. We need to look at Sunday's performance and we need to go back to that. We need to be aggressive. We need to be fast and forward thinking, and we need to take the game to Gent tonight to really put the tie to bed early on and to not give them any hope. Now, I'm going to the game tonight, but even yesterday, I got a message on WhatsApp with an employee's picture on it, it looked like. Now, whether this is generic or not, I don't know. And it was a number that I didn't have saved, but it was from a West Ham employee, obviously who works in the ticket office marketing department, offering me the opportunity to come along tonight again, even though I've already bought my seat, offering me the opportunity to come along tonight to one of the lounges as it's my birthday. Why not celebrate? Why not celebrate your birthday at West Ham versus Gent in one of the lounges for only £499 per person? I tell you what, I'll give that a miss. But if you're willing to give me it as a gift, I'll come along. I mean, these media and marketing people at West Ham, they just don't seem to read the room, do they? £499 to watch us against Gent. I'm not sure about that. But anyway, we need to take the game to Gent tonight. They do have enough, they have a bit of quality there. We were terrible in that first leg over there. Absolutely terrible. I watched it in a bar in Spain, as I said, and we were shocking. The Arsenal performance needs to now be the go-to performance, the go-to style. We need to go back to that style of play that we've been longing for all season long. Put it to bed early, get the result done and dusted, and get through to the semi-final. Then I might look at the 499 package if the missus don't find out. What else we got? Okay, so obviously the Declan Rice transfer saga continues, and obviously will continue until he leaves the club, more than likely in the summer. Now, it's come out that Declan Rice may be joining forces with Mason Mount, but not at Chelsea, as you may think, because Mason Mount is apparently up for sale and on his way out at Chelsea. And obviously, as we know, Declan Rice and Mason Mount are very good mates from their time spent at the Chelsea Academy when they were a lot younger. Obviously, Mason Mount's been there since he was 8 or 9, and Declan Rice, similar time, but obviously was released and we picked him up when he was released from Chelsea. Now, apparently Newcastle are in pole position to reunite Mount and Rice together on the pitch. Now, this would be interesting for me because, as selfish as it sounds, and not that Declan Rice should listen to me, of course, but I would hate for Declan Rice to join Arsenal, mainly because 90% of my family are from North London. They are all Arsenal fans, and I've never had a good relationship with Arsenal because of the amount of gyp I've been given over the years from said family members. Because Arsenal are more successful than us, aren't they? Well, yeah, they are in the main, but I tell you what, their fan base are right arseholes. And I mean that totally respectfully, especially if you watch the Arsenal Fan TV rant from that guy called Ty, I believe, outside the London Stadium after the game. I mean, what a loser that geezer is. And I'm not a big fan of Robbie, but personally, I thought Robbie put him straight, and it was nice to see him pulling him up on that. But, Declan Rice to Newcastle with Mason Mount. Look, we know they've got the money, and I wouldn't mind him going there. A lot of people will question the morality of the ownership at Newcastle, but you know what? I'd rather he went there. Eddie Howe is a fantastic coach and manager. I don't mind Newcastle in a funny sort of way. Their fans are okay. Their fans I've got a lot of time for. they're similar to us in recent years with the ownership they had under Mike Ashley, with what we've had under Sullivan and rest in peace Gold. I wouldn't mind him going there, but it's all going to boil down to wages, I think, at the end of the day, because also I believe that Newcastle, they're not keen on breaking their wage structure. And they have to be careful with it all, obviously, because of financial fair play these days. But they could potentially, and they can afford the transfer fees involved for Mason Mount and Declan Rice. You're probably talking 130 million for the two. And you never know, we might be able to get a couple of players out of them. And I'm moving on to players now. And there's obviously, again, loads of rumours flying about the gaff about players that West Ham are being linked with. But interestingly for me, I've seen two articles where we seem to be going back to what we know. Now, we know in the summer we went a little bit left field in terms of our usual transfer policy with the signings of Paqueta and Scamacca, big names, big money, price tags, etc. But articles that I've read over the last 24, 48 hours seem to be steering West Ham back down the road of buying young players and or young championship players. We've been linked with Max Aarons from Norwich City. We've been linked with Victor Gyökeres, I believe a Swedish striker who's at Coventry City, and to name but a few. Now, this is interesting for me because these are sorts of players that, Moyes likes to have, young, hungry, possibly players trying to, re-establish their name or build their name up in the Premier League. So young, hungry championship players. And whilst I don't mind that sort of player coming into the club, it does concern me a little bit that by going for these sorts of players, are we keeping David Moyes? Let's hope not. But look, there's loads of players that we're linked with. And at the end of the day, I'm sure the club are saying to agents of players that are possibly approaching the club, you need to wait. We need to see who we're going to have in charge, because it's very important for the manager to have a say on the players we bring in. We don't want a scenario where players are being bought on the back of Sullivan's say-so. Obviously, it's good that players are being identified by agents, by our scouting system, Newman, etc. But I do think that any potential players coming in need to come in with the approval of the new manager, whoever that may be. And another player that we've been linked with is the ex-Fulham player, Fabio Carvalho, who we were linked with in the summer, obviously, but chose the bright lights of Anfield and the fantastic opportunity to work under Jurgen Klopp. Now, it's been said in recent days again that Liverpool are going to look to offload him because they need to get rid of players in order to bring in others. We know that Liverpool need a total rebuild. And unfortunately, it hasn't worked out for Carvalho at Anfield. He's got about 300 minutes of football under his belt, which isn't great. He's 20 years old. I'm sure he's hungry. And, in hindsight, he probably should have chosen to come to West Ham for game time. And I think it's interesting that we may have an opportunity to, revisit the possibility of signing him. It'd be a good asset to have. He'd be young, he'd be hungry, and the sort of player that we want at the club, I believe, now going forward. And I think this speaks volumes of young players. I know, it's very easy for me to sit here and say this, but a player of a young age needs to be playing. We don't want the scenario where players are going to clubs, sitting on the bench, getting a few minutes here and there and pretty much wasting their time. It's happened in years gone by. Players, I know it's a short career and they chase the money maybe and they chase the possibility of silverware and all that, but a youngster needs to be playing. And, let's hope we can go for him. Another article I read, which was again quite contradictory to that really, and obviously articles contradict from one to the other, but I also heard that West Ham are going to look to recruit young players who get cast aside by teams like Arsenal and Manchester City. That's quite worrying for me because if you look at the success of our under-18 team, we need to be giving those young players that we already have on board the opportunity to get first-team football under their belt. And I hope that next season we see a scattering of these players in and around the first-team squad for Carabao Cup matches, for early FA Cup fixtures, and possibly around the European scene if we qualify via the Europa Conference League, obviously, into Europa League. Look, this has been an absolute ramble. I've covered all sorts of things. Let me know which manager out of the 6 on the shortlist you think that we should go for, or who you would have out of the 6. Let me know how you would feel about Declan Rice moving to Newcastle. I know Gary, sorry, Gary, I don't want to throw you under the bus. You've said it on camera before, though. Gary says that once Rice leaves, he doesn't really care how he gets on. I'm a little bit different to that. You know, Declan Rice is no Paul Ince. Declan Rice, for me, has always given 110%. Against Arsenal, he was magnificent. He's been magnificent since he's been at the club, in my opinion. I want him to go somewhere where he can progress and play football, get minutes under his belt, because he needs to play. And I think Newcastle's the club for him. They're trying to break the status quo of the usual teams pushing at the top of the division. And I'd like to see him go to Newcastle. Obviously, I hate Arsenal as well, so I don't want him going there. What do you think about the links with the type of Championship players that are coming back out again? Do you think we should be going down the route of recruiting players from the Championship like we've done in the past? Let's think about players we've done that with, i.e. Cresswell, Antonio, Benrahma. It's a mantra that suits West Ham, but is it dependent on the type of manager we get through the door? Will Pochettino be a good fit for that type of manager, for that type of player? Sorry, Nuno Espirito. You know, it's going to be a very interesting next few months, not only because of what we achieve in terms of league status and possibly winning this trophy, but the type of manager we get in will most definitely have a direct link to the type of players that we go for. Anyway, look, I'm going to close up. I've been waffling longer than I wanted, than I planned to, but it is my birthday, so let me get away with it. And if you want to send me any money, I'll gladly give you my PayPal account. Anyway, have a good day. Let's hope we get through against Gent tonight. We can't take them for no mugs. Hit the like button. Follow our show. Follow our channel on YouTube, and I'll see you soon. Happy birthday to me. Come on, you irons.